Hi, it's me, Annalisa from myspiritualfriend.com again. The video I wanted to record was this one about boundaries. I ended up recording one a little bit about divine feminine energy that's sort of bubbling up and taking root in the universe. But this one is going to be about boundaries. And I wanted to talk about it because I think boundaries are amazing and we should all have them. And of course, as a psychic medium, most people think, well, how do you create boundaries from the spirit world or from negative and scary entities? But really, there's crossover. You need boundaries from regular people for psychic reasons too. Or embodied beings, embodied spirits, which is like, me right here. So I learned about boundaries and understanding them really, and like knowing that they were okay for me to have really for the first time when developing my psychic abilities. The reason I think we're all kind of, and on women on a whole, I hate to like put it that way, but it's like, we're taught to be, to allow a lot of behavior and a lot of treatment, or like, you don't want to do something, you don't want to be mean, and you want to be soft, and, and if you say no and set your boundaries and do all this other stuff, or not allow things, then you're rude, or you're harsh, or you're a B word, you're all kinds of things. There's all kinds of bossy and controlling, all kinds of things. And so for me, I learned about it really with my psychic abilities. And what I learned was, I had this Hollywood idea of, if I open up my intuition, if I open my psychic connection to the divine, that I'm going to allow in all these scary Hollywood ideas and negative energies. And yeah, there are those negative energies out there, and there are those scary things out there. But, if you're practicing in the light, you don't have to worry about it. And so what I learned too was that also, like, I could tell them to kind of like back off. I need to sleep, because sometimes they used to come to me right as I was falling asleep, and then I'd want to develop, and I'd want to hear, and I'd want to know, but God, I need my rest too, right? So I learned that it was okay to kind of either say, like, meet me in my dreams, or meet me on the other side, or come back later. And I learned that I don't have to necessarily receive the messages right when, if it's a loved one, right when they want to give it. And, when I was learning that, I was developing my abilities to do message circles and read for multiple people at one time, or larger groups, that I sort of had to set it up where my guides, where they would line everybody up, because what would happen is I was getting so many messages at once from all different spirits and loved ones who had crossed over, that I just couldn't hold all the information. So I sort of set up a plan. So I set boundaries for what was okay. And the funniest thing that I learned was, spirit's actually way more respectful of your boundaries than humans are, period. And setting those boundaries, which I thought would have been hard and scary, were actually pretty easy to set. I just kind of said, okay, here are my rules. This is how it works. This is what I'm comfortable with. And my boundaries have changed over time, and my comfort level has changed, and I've opened up more. But that was my call too, and my say. And what my boundaries are psychically may be totally different than another person's. Some people aren't always open. Some people don't like to always be open. It's too overwhelming for them. And for me, the way I kind of grew up and stuff, I'm sort of always open to things, spirits being around. I'm not so limiting on that. I don't like things moving around. So I have had things move, and I'm sort of okay with it, but I'd rather them contact me another way. I don't need lights flickering, and I don't, so that's my boundary right now. I used to have a boundary that I didn't want to, if the person couldn't handle receiving the message, I don't want to know the information. I don't want to know more than I can handle. And now, or if I wasn't supposed to share. And now I'm okay handling a little bit more information and knowing that some things aren't supposed to be passed along. And it may be to give me a broader scope of the picture in order to deliver a more complete message, though not exactly what everything that I'm getting. So now everybody who's getting a reading is going to go, are you telling me everything? But it's not necessarily like I'm holding back anything scary. It's just, I don't get messages of doom and gloom. It's just not everything necessarily needs to be discussed at a certain time. Maybe it needs to come up later because that person needs to learn it in a different way, that even if I told them, they wouldn't receive the message. So it was better for them to kind of learn it on their own. So then when I started going through therapy to kind of heal some of my old stuff and my old wounds from growing up, I learned that I really didn't have a lot of boundaries with people. And I didn't really realize what boundaries were. So I didn't know that oversharing is a boundary issue. Not everybody needs to know everything. And I used to share a lot because I wanted people to be comfortable. Or to maybe make myself more approachable. I'm not even really fully sure why I did, but I didn't realize. So now I withhold a lot more. I'm still friendly, but I just withhold a lot more information. I used to allow a lot of behavior because of the stuff that I suffered growing up and the abuse and everything else. I sort of had this like not so great image of myself. And I used to allow people to treat me not so nice because I thought maybe that was normal or I deserved it. I didn't have a really positive self-image. And I used to also think, well, that the only way to set that boundary was that if I didn't allow certain behavior, that then, well, they won't want to be around me. They won't want to be friends with me. They won't want to have a relationship with me. They won't like me. A lot of that's insecurity. And I got to tell you, society and the way we kind of rub off on each other, we breed insecurity. And it's really sad because really, when I really developed a lot of my positive self-image, it was through life experience and healing through therapy and kind of growing in my psychic abilities and learning that like everybody has stuff, but yet everybody has like this really beautiful side too. And really most people aren't bad or good. There's not this duality. It's just, somewhere on the spectrum. And I also had to learn that like, because I used to think I would try and set a boundary and someone would go, well, why are you setting that? And that's not okay with me. And like, I wouldn't do that. I constantly questioned like, where was somebody else's boundary? And maybe I was strange for having a different boundary than they were, or I wouldn't allow certain things that they would allow. Maybe there was something wrong with me. And I'm sharing this because I know I'm not the only person who has been there. I know I'm not the only person who's had those issues. And the one thing I learned and I started to really fully embrace is that my boundary doesn't have to be the same as yours. And the only one who has to respect my boundaries is me. You don't have to respect them. You don't have to be a part of my life, but you don't have to respect them either. And that's the one thing I had to get really comfortable with, was that I didn't need everybody to like me. I don't need everybody to be respectful. And if you're not respectful, I don't need you in my life. And it was like sort of like getting okay with that and knowing that I wasn't a bad person for having the boundaries that I have, and I wasn't mean and I wasn't strict. And I think what's happening now, and you see it on a big level, is the boundaries are changing for everybody, right? So we as a culture and a society have allowed a lot of like, especially against women and people of color and minorities, and have like not had great boundaries. We've allowed a lot of really awful behavior. And what's happening now when you see these upheavals and this uprising and all of this unsettled energy, it's people setting boundaries and saying, hey, whoa, no more anymore. I'm not okay with this. And the other side, which happens when you set boundaries, going, wait, I can't keep my bad behavior. I can't keep being disrespectful to you. Well, I'm going to show you why, and it should be this way. And when you set boundaries and you start, setting them, humans, embodied people, don't like it and they fight back. And this can be psychically and spiritually draining on you. And you have to learn that I can stand in my own power and I can stand in who I am and be a firm believer in who I am and know that I'm okay to set these boundaries and not allow these people to pull from me psychically, empathically anymore, where I can become the observer and just watch them and say, gosh, that must be hard to struggle and having boundaries set. It must be hard to it's hard to have things change and shift up on you, and there's new rules, and it doesn't mean either person is a horrible person. It just means that there's growth and change, and with that comes discomfort sometimes. And with that growth and change, the discomforts will kind of ease out over time, and everybody sort of has to give each other time to adjust. Now, giving somebody time to adjust does not mean allowing them to continue their bad behavior. It means looking at it with compassion and understanding they're behaving this way, they're putting up a fight because I've set this boundary. And it doesn't mean you need to give into that or that you need to get angry about it or anything else. It's just watching it going, And I knew this would happen, and there would be kickback, and I'm just going to sit and hold tight, and I'm going to stand firm because this is my comfort level, and this is what I know is okay for me. So sometimes you have to remove people from your life, and sometimes you have to say adios, not necessarily good riddance, but like wish them the best on their journey. Maybe just in your mind, because maybe it may require like completely no, goodbye, just that closure of I can't tolerate this anymore. Sometimes you need to have physical boundaries where it becomes, we see each other just, very rarely because I can only handle them in small doses. And sometimes it's just that like understanding of, you can be angry at me, don't call me names anymore. I'm not going to enable your bad behavior anymore. So if you need help, ask me for help, but I won't be offering help without you asking me, or I won't be doing things for you without me asking, or I won't necessarily always clean up after your mistakes. It's your time to do these things. But boundaries are super important, and it's like, it's happening on such a huge level. If you look at the Kavanaugh stuff and all the Me Too movements, a lot of this Me Too stuff is not about trying to get back at anybody. It's like resetting that boundary and learning that it's okay for us to have that boundary. And whether you're a man or woman, it's okay for everybody to have that boundary. And I'm not talking political parties, because honestly, in the spirit world, they don't care what your politics are. They just care about people being and living their truth and their highest being and their highest self. And that's really what spirit cares about is, if you live in your highest self and you let go of the ego and the needing to be right and the needing to fight and the needing to be vindicated. It's not about vindication. It's about, set your boundaries. You're allowed to your boundaries. You're allowed to love yourself enough to do that. And you're the only one who has to respect that. That's it. If you respect your own boundaries, none of the rest of the stuff matters. Doesn't matter how angry somebody gets for you setting the boundary. It doesn't matter if somebody falls away, because if your relationship is meant to be friendship, family, whatever, and there really is true love in there, and there really is a true connection in there, that they will start respecting your boundaries. And that's the simple truth of it. And again, psychically, it's real simple. You just ask spirit, like, I'm not okay with that. Can you turn it down? Can you come a different time? They're super easy. They're the easy ones to deal with. It's it's the living. We're the difficult ones. I used to say that in therapy all the time. I get the dead people I get, it's the living. I just don't even get them. It's the hardest thing in the world for me. So I hope you like this. I hope this was helpful. If you like me, if you like my channel, please subscribe. Again, it's Annalisa from myspiritualfriend.com. You can find me online if you're interested in readings. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thanks so much.